All right, so kind of a weird screen setup, but I wanted to try and show you how I think I would keep track of things for the budget. And I am starting with year one, even though they're doing the budgeting for me, just because I thought it would be a good way to start and make sure that I'm collecting the things that I should be collecting. And just ignore me down at the bottom of the video here. I just wanted to fix that formatting. So as I'm moving throughout my tasks, I'm just going to record my decisions. Okay, so right now on this page, I can see my total costs for my factories that I'm working on. So I can see my material expense, and I've recorded that here. I have my maintenance expense, and because factory Noel is the only one that is actually in operation, I only have that one for expense. The factory Christopher will add my maintenance in the next quarter when it will actually be $20,000, because I'll have two factories in operation. But I did invest in a new factory this quarter, so I have my $30,000 outsourcing expense. I also have materials, and because I outsourced, I don't have labor, but I do have my outsourcing fee, which I was able to pull from this screen here. All right. Now, since I'm on this page, I can also see my revenue, which I can record. Let me put that here. So I have my revenue from my contract, and that will be paid in quarter two. So I will add that to quarter two. All right. And I think that's all the information I really need from that, except depreciation. So here's my depreciation. So it's $5,000 per quarter. And that is set the same for purchased factories. So I'm actually editing this video, believe it or not, and I wanted to place a correction here, even though I do make note of it later, but there is no depreciation on outsourced factories, only on owned factories. Depreciation indicates that the capital investment is losing value due to use. And because we don't actually own the factory that we've outsourced, we aren't losing any value. The owner of the factory is, but we're not the owner of the factory. So we don't need to record depreciation. My bad. So where we have to kind of calculate amortization, which you'll know from the previous tutorial video, the depreciation, that's just set pretty easily at $50,000 or $5,000 per quarter. And so here we can see that factory one depreciation $5,000 starting in quarter two. Factory two, which I am in the process of building, that depreciation will start in quarter three. So for quarter two, I have one depreciation amount. So for this, in the actual Excel formula, I just put equals to, I just type in equals, and I go over to my depreciation schedule, and this one started in quarter two. So I hit enter. For the next one, you know, if I was doing my budget plan for quarter three, I'd go over here, and everything that started before quarter three, that would be add that one and add that one. And that's how I would know my depreciation amount for that. I've got all the information that I would need. I've made my decisions. Now I'm going to move on to the financing. I can see that I'm going to have a bit of a cash deficit. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to come back to that one. But right now I am going to go into my research and development project. So I decided to invest in the Sporty Jetpack. So that's $200,000 and it will be completed not in this quarter, but in next quarter. So it takes 2 quarters to complete. So, sorry, it won't be completed in quarter 3. It will be completed in quarter 4. So if I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet, I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet. That means that's my project 2. And it costs $200,000. And it will take 2 quarters to complete. So it's going to start, the amortization is going to start in Q4, year 1. And the per quarter amount is the cost divided by 12. And that you can find in your little info button back in the simulation, but all research projects are good for 12 quarters. Now, the cost of this project is divided by the quarters as well. So the total project was $200,000, but it takes 2 quarters. So I'm only paying $100,000 now, and I'll pay $100,000 next quarter. And for my amortization, I can go back to my schedule here and I can see, okay, this is going to be equals to anything that is in this quarter or before it. So that's just this one. And it'll be the same for next quarter as well. But in quarter 4, it will be everything starting in this quarter plus previous quarters. Now let's go to our contracts. And I'm just going to leave my contract at $15,000. So I saved the financing task for last because I wanted to come in here and see my budget and my cash flow and see if I need it at this point. So let's just first see if we didn't have our budget filled in for us. This is where we'd start filling in the numbers that we've been keeping track of based on our decisions and putting them in. Whether you're doing it as a spreadsheet or if you were going back and forth or however you're doing it, even though it's being filled in for us, it's good to match and make sure you know where the numbers came from. So we have our sales revenue. Okay, yeah, we can see that that was one of the numbers we got out of our production decisions. Our revenue, same revenue here, and our cash receipts on our cash flow budget is that number as well. Perfect. In our cost of goods sold, we have our outsourcing fee and our materials. And if you select both cells in Excel, down here at the bottom, it will give you a quick addition of those cells. So I can see that that's the same number that we were expecting. Now over here for cash paid to suppliers, that needs to include the $30,000. And because we also had to pay to set up our new factory. So there we have the $188,080 that's there. Perfect. Our promotion, $15,000. That's what we were planning. Outsourcing our contracts. So this is where we record that $30,000. So on the cash flow side, the factory cost, materials, and outsourcing fee all were included in the cash paid to supplier. But on our budget, operating budget, the cost of goods sold does not include the cost of setting up the factory. And the depreciation amortization amount, that's what we were, well, it's a rounding error. But that's about what we were looking for. And then these were just, adding it up. On this side, we can see cash paid to marketing and sales. That's our contract decision. Our utilities, that's our maintenance. That's the same that we had our research and development. Yep, we paid for half of that project. We don't have any financing right now. We started with this much cash. According to the calculations, we'll be left with $27,920. So that's not going to be a lot of cash for next quarter. So maybe I should take out a loan. Now I would have to decide, do I want to take out some financing, or do I want to potentially be in my overdraft next quarter? Let's just say I'm going to take out a new loan. This is going to mean that you have another expense. Now, the thing is, you don't have to keep a track. So like I have my amortization schedule and my depreciation schedule in my spreadsheet, but you don't really have to do that for the loan because they do give you your repayment schedule. I'll take out $600 for 12 quarters. All right, so you can see that is going to change my cash flow budget even before going into the budget itself. So now that I have that loan open, I can click and I can see the details. And here you can see the interest payment for the first quarter, which will be starting in quarter 3. So in my spreadsheet here, I'm not going to pay any interest in this quarter or any interest or any principal back. But starting in quarter 3, I'll be paying $19,500 and $41.68. So these are both financing decisions. Well, not decisions, but things I'm going to keep track of. And I mean, you could fill in the full schedule, but if you need to take out loans, then you'll be adding multiple numbers in. Now, maybe while I'm here, so I could go back and update my budgeting task, but for now, I'll just go into my next. And I'm just going to fast forward through my next few quarters, and I'll show you how we'll fill in the budget using this approach.